Okay.
Radio host Charles Neely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're live tonight on the Escape the Live radio show. My little money bond marathon, excuse me, while a cop car does its civic duty. Stu, I'm gonna let Stu just get it off his chest. This is his night tonight. The special edition of Escape the Live radio show with me, Charles Neely, and Stu Webb, federal whistleblower. Take it away, Stu.
Well, first I want to thank you for having me, Charles. It's always a pleasure to do a show with a patriotic American, one that stands up for the Constitution, and it's going to be an interesting election tonight. See the results. I just glanced at the TV a moment ago as I got a cup of coffee, and it looks like part of the states are polling high numbers of Barack Obama, and part of the states are polling high numbers of Mitt Romney. So, I went down and voted a write-in ballot for Ron Paul today, and I just want to say that the guy was kind of shocked. I asked to borrow his pen. I said, I forgot to bring my pen in with me. May I borrow your pen?
Interesting.
Said, no, you can't use it.
Oh, yes. And ladies and gentlemen, in this great country of ours that we call a democracy, you can make a citizen arrest. It's part of our God-given right, and it's not negotiable. It's not even up for debate, you know. So, Stu, you did the right thing.
I got everybody's attention in there. I know that when I said that. Made them all stand up to attention real quick. So I didn't know whether they thought I was some fed or cop or what, but they don't understand. I'm a citizen. I have that right. You're right about arrest. But anyway, I made my vote. It won't count for anything, but one of the two stooges are going to win, and we're going to be back in the same old stuff with the crime syndicate. Daddy Bush still in control. Control of America, the mob don, Daddy Bush, George Herbert Walker Bush. And so if Barack Obama remains, we're all screwed. If Mitt Romney gets in, we're going to be double screwed and just screwed all to death one way or another. So the crime syndicate continues. The American Revolution continues. And I hope everybody realizes after this election that It's not going to be any change. The only thing that's going to change is called duct tape. That's handcuffs, and you can use your imagination, but it works well around the neck. I guess you could hang things pretty duct tape. It needs a lot of weight. I think one of these days we're going to have that problem. I think we're going to have a civil war in this country, and everybody knows it.
Yes, I agree with you, Stu.
Veterans today, he described it perfectly.
Well, I'm gonna tell you something, Stu. That's a given. It's coming. The American people might well get ready for it. I mean, it happened in Yugoslavia, and that wasn't but 20 years or 15 years ago. And that was a modern nation like ours. With people don't have to stand in line to go to the store. I mean, even Gorbachev, when he came to Yugoslavia, said, "What the hell is all this? Y'all got cell phones. People don't have to stand in line to get groceries and stuff." And he even came to Yugoslavia when it was still under the old Soviet Iron Curtain for vacations. But apparently Yugoslavia had a problem. The problem was when Benito Tito, the dictator, died, the country just fell into hell in a handbasket. Next thing you know, Stu, everybody was raiding government armories. Now that wasn't too long ago.
No, I remember it was around 1991, I believe it was, when Yugoslavia fell.
Fell.
Around that time, because Daddy Bush moved in there with the Chevron boys, and they took over the oil leases, and they paid off people. I still have the fax copy that ended up at Chevron headquarters in Houston, Texas, and there were 2 fax copies a buddy of mine gave me, a girl that worked there, who had given me these copies, and because she hated the Bush crime syndicate. And Jay Ulicki, of course, was the Bay of Pigs boy, the one that trained Daddy Bush into the OSS and so forth. And he was his partner, Pinzol, there in Houston. And that Yugoslavia, they paid off Yugoslavia a finance minister to deliver the leases in hand in New York. They met him at JFK Airport, and then they turned around and they gave him a trip to the Bahamas. And it was all in the specs, his flight schedule and everything. And I remember that because I blasted it out on Chuck Harder's network when he was still around. Because he was giving me 3 days a week while I was hiding from the FBI, and I was putting on other whistleblowers because they were trying to shut me up and silence me. So the other fax that J. Ulicki got, which is kind of history, was a fax that was sent by Gene Chip Tatum, who was one of my key witnesses, now dead, against the Melvins. Found out he was NSA, CIA, delivered Clinton and Jackson Stevens and Dan Lasser, down in Arkansas, delivered them a flight of cocaine at that Air Force base down there. Not Mena, Arkansas, but the Air Force base in a cooler. And it's in it's in some documents. It's in a tape on the front of my website. It says witnesses, where I've sued them over the mortgage fraud, and underneath that it's just three witnesses. One of them now dead, and that's Tatum. But that's a very interesting interview because people ought to listen to it. It's an hour long. I did with him in 1996 because what we did is he had come to me through others, and because I had such access to major networks at the time, radio in particular, where we could reach 300 stations across the nation in one bundle. He had come to me, and he was solid as a rock, and he gave me the evidence on 79,000 houses that Millman had stolen and the gang. And but that's one of the interviews he did with me. We did many interviews, probably close to, I think, 500 or 600. She stirred up a lot of noise, and Maxine Waters, if you remember her, she was yelling and screaming about the cocaine trafficking in California.
I've seen the video on YouTube.
Yeah, and it was Gary Webb, Gene, and my other friend, Terry Reed, that wrote the book Bush and the CIA. He's no longer around. He's gone into hiding, should we say, in old. His book's still sold on Amazon. It's a good book, good to read about Arkansas. But he was flying weapons in and out of there to Mena. But Terry and Gene and Michael Rupert got together on one end while I'm working Maxine Waters, who dropped the balls. And she dropped the ball. She was going to hold a hearing. And that witch dropped the ball. And in exchange for, there was 2 laws on the books. And it was a discriminatory law. Okay? And Daddy Bush says, okay, you take that discriminatory law off the books, and I'll deal with you. The deal was, you got caught with cocaine, got 10 years. And if you got caught possession of plus of cocaine. So you got 5 years. So she got the law changed. That was the agreement to keep from holding the hearing. But what was interesting about the Hugh Lickey deal, the other facts I see you down there got from source. To do that, fax that was sent down there to Arkansas, I mean to Jehu Lickey's Pennzoil headquarters, said in need of $3.5 million to do Operation Lockdown on a Bush competition in Dallas, is what it said. And that letter that is up there about the signed by Daddy Bush with the blacked out name was about hitting Ross Perot. Satan gave it to me some years later. So it's kind of funny how here people were involved in various operations that I come across over the years and ended up actually whistleblowing with them, along with them, for various reasons. But they put him in jail because he refused to kill a presidential candidate. And so they held him for about 3 years incarceration. And he got out, and that's when he was ticked off, and he wanted payback, and so on and so forth. But Gene's now dead. They ripped his face off in Nicaragua, cut it off in the 2000 election because they were sending a message to everybody to keep their mouths shut because he had reached out about George W. Bush. But that's just kind of an interesting little fact. Now, the last of the facts was, after I blew that out on Chuck Harder about that Pennzoil fax, the two of them, the second one, about the Operation Lockdown, and it contacted Ross Perot. Ross Perot, the next day, he actually withdrew from the election, came back in September later after he got repositioned, because I used to talk to him on occasion when I was hiding from the feds, and when they were trying to arrest the president, he stayed his alone and other stuff. But there was another part to that. But they fired, listen to this, Charles. With the Afghan rebels, and they cut a deal with Yukos Oil.
Oh, it never ends.
Who Daddy Bush had a Knights Templar Jew running the operation with Yukos Oil, which is a state-owned government of Russia, on those oil leases. And after George W. got into office, if you remember, after 9/11. You can see Henry Kissinger, Leonard Millman, and Daddy Bush, and a couple others all making a trip to Russia to meet with the Yukos Oil, the one that was assigned and allowed to run the oil company for the state of Russia. Arrested him, held him on charges of $2 billion income tax evasion, kicked them all out of the country, told them to leave the country, because he knew that they had set up an attack on 9. And what it was all in 1907, deal with the state-owned government of Russia, the Yukos Oil, to Chevron, run a pipeline from the Caspian Sea basin down through Afghanistan. That's the reason they wanted oil out of the Yugoslavia region called the Caspian Sea basin, which is the second oil fund in the world, and they wanted to run that pipeline. Well, the only way they could run that pipeline was to have a fake attack. That was one to legitimize the presidency, rally the people around so they could go to war and so forth. And when they weren't able to get that pipeline deal done, when they got cut off and Yukos got reabsorbed by Russia Putin himself, their government, and they cut them off, that blew their whole pipeline. It was going to come down in that Baqa Valley or whatever they call it in northern Afghanistan, some low-lying area, so they could bring that oil and run it out of Yugoslavia up along the back end of Iran, and then they could bring it down and go across Pakistan. They already had all this agreed upon to do it, even with the Afghan rebels. The Afghan government had agreed. So, or the Afghan government didn't agree, I apologize. This was the reason they attacked Afghanistan. And so then when that happened, of course, they laid everybody over there because the opium fields out. But that was the reason they created the false illusion of Iraq being involved, because Halliburton, Dick Cheney's company, and Daddy Bush's company, was only getting 10% of the oil out of Iraq. Now they're getting 90% of the oil profits out of Iraq. Then he just proceeded George W. Bush in July the 8th, 2008. My internet site, look, I'll scroll all the way down the bottom. It says addition. It doesn't say additional. It says, next breaking news. People in 2008 will see that those impeachment articles. They're up there, and it mentions about this. It was all over the Five Sisters, Daddy Bush, and the Illuminati bankers, the Council of 13, the head that control all the Five Sister oil companies. Dialysis, of which he did die in 2002 over in Dubai.
Maybe with a little help.
In a dialysis machine. But they had to keep the boogeyman alive. Of course, they had to blank some of mass destruction on Iraq. That, of course, in her energy company they used as a front, all of them were killed, and that's that was something that was off the charts of what happened.
Well, this is, Stu, I'm going to tell you something. This is treason.
And gentlemen, from Famer Region 6, it's the Escape the Lies radio show. I'm Slavano Taylor, your announcer, and now hear your radio host Charles Neely.
Okay, we are back with my special guest tonight on the Escape the Lies radio show, special election coverage with stewweb, federal whistleblower. And you're in for a real treat tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Barack Obama and Mitt Romney.
Charles?
Yeah, that's on.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay, we were.
I got the screen. Can you see that little console that says on air? Yeah. We're on there.
Well, they're trying to break us up here on Skype because I'm seeing you, but I'm not hearing you totally.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay. No, I can't see you. But we still got screen sharing. You can see my little console that says on the air.
I call you back or you call me back.
Okay, we'll do that right now. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're still recording and waiting for stewweb because we got a crappy connection, but it's all good. And Stu is my guest tonight. We're going to cover the election and the fraud behind it and the money behind it. And to the average American people who ain't paying attention, you're lost. Because, see, I already know what's going on. And some people might say, well, you think you do. Oh, hey, buddy, I know more than you do. Like one time I had a little dispute with my mother. Shut up, boy. Only God can make it rain. I'm thinking, yeah, she only knew. Now we're back. Okay, we're back.
Now I can hear you.
Yep.
They were just cutting us out there.
Yeah, that's what the NSA do, you know. All right.
Game.
Okay.
So where do you want to go with this?